Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be going over the best gadget for every single brawler and when to use them and what scenarios. So again, this took us a ton of time and it's a lot of information, I know, but again, I hope you guys do really appreciate it. And if you do, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe right now because it helps us out a ton. But either way, let's get to the first brawler. Let's go. All right, so up first we have Shelly. Now Shelly's first gadget is going to be fast forward, which is basically just a dash. And the second gadget is clay pigeons, which is a long range shot. I don't know how you want to describe it, but basically it lasts for 5 seconds. And in my opinion, clay pigeons is just by far the better gadget in basically every single scenario that I can even think of. It helps you out so much in those long range battles, as well as it's sometimes a guaranteed kill. For example, if you have the slow star power where you super someone and you slow them, you just pop the clay pigeons gadget if they're too far, auto aim a couple shots, and that is a free kill. And let me tell you, in my opinion, again, clay pigeons just by far the better gadget, and I would use it every scenario. All right, up next we have Nita. Now Nita's first gadget is bear paws, which is the stun gadget for Bruce, and in my opinion this gadget is just too easy to dodge, especially at higher ranges of trophies. You see that more often. So the next gadget, which is Fox Fur, is by far the better gadget in my opinion, or I shouldn't say by far, but it is the better gadget in my opinion, just because it makes the other team waste more ammo, and sometimes you can usually heal up your bear if you get a couple shots off with that star power, and I think it just pairs really good with the star power. So in general, I would suggest Fox Fur, but this one is a little more 50-50, up to you guys. Kind of depends on your trophies. All right, up next for Colt, the better gadget in general is going to be Silver Bullet. Now the reason why is in my opinion, usually when you're picking Colt, it is for those wall break purposes. Now it's not always the case, but if you need a wall break, Silver Bullet is one of the best gadgets in the game for it, and that's probably why you're playing Colt. So wall break, use Silver Bullet. If not, use Speed Reloader. Is that what it's called? Speed Loader. It's called Speed Loader. Use Speed Loader if you don't need a wall break. Just gives you extra ammo, and why wouldn't you use it? So yeah, that's what I think. All right, up next is going to be Bull. Now Bull's first gadget, T-Bone Ejector, is actually a gadget that I really like, but I do think Stomper is better. So Stomper is the gadget where you can stop and you slow the enemy wherever you want during your super. And in general, I think this is the better gadget because it allows you to get kills easier, you know, get your super back. It's just in general more versatile than the T-Bone Ejector gadget. The reason I like it so much is because you can kind of get 1500 free HP and surprise the enemy, and sometimes it works really well, but sometimes it doesn't. So probably Stomper's the better gadget, but again, this is kind of just something you should play with a little bit. You can kind of decide. But yeah, Stomper. All right, so up next is Jessie, and Jessie's first gadget is going to be Spark Plug. Now this gadget's the one that slows everyone down around the turret. It is the better gadget in general, probably every single scenario, almost every single scenario. The only time I would run the other one, which is Recoil Spring, is in Heist, maybe Siege, but in Heist because you can maybe get an extra, you know, a good amount of damage with the Recoil Spring gadget. But in general, at high trophies, people take out the turret way too fast and you don't get that much damage anyway. So I like the control and the, you know, damage that comes from the Spark Plug gadget. So in general, Spark Plug's better. All right, so up next we have Brock, and it's similar to Colt, whereas when you need a wall break, you're gonna be wanting to run Rocket Fuel gadget just because it's such a good wall break and it's so helpful for your team. But Rocket Laces is actually pretty solid if you know you're going to be in a 1v1 scenario versus like a Piper or something, and you need that jump to dodge a homemade recipe or curveball. In general, Rocket Laces is actually a pretty solid option, but you know, if I have to give it to someone, or if I have to give it to one of the gadgets, it's going to go to Rocket Fuel for me. I think it's the better gadget in general, but again, both can be viable. So yeah. All right, so up next is Dynamike, and this one's pretty straightforward to me. We have this fidget spinner gadget, you know, drops a ton of dynamites everywhere, does a little bit of damage, gives you a little bit of movement speed. It's okay. It's not that good. In general, I don't think it's good at all, but the other one, which is Satchel Charge, in my opinion, the stun gadget is just too good. You hit the stun, it's a free kill. I would run Satchel Charge every scenario. So yeah. All right, so up next is Bo, and this one again is also pretty straightforward to me. In general, you're going to be wanting to run the Super Totem for your teammates basically every scenario, except if you need a wall break. That's basically the only time I can see Tripwire being somewhat useful, but even the totem is just better in my opinion. You can use it to tank shots, you can use it to charge your super, charge your teammates super. You know, there's a lot of strategies around a Bo super totem, so general, that one's the better one. All right, so up next we have Tick. Now this one's a little bit controversial. There's the Last Hurrah gadget, which is the one most people use, I think, in general. It's the shield one where, you know, you tank a lot of damage, or you tank extra damage, and you kind of do a little bit of damage to them if they're up close. And then you have Mine Mania, which launches like 9 mines in a little circle. And this one is actually really good inside of the mode Knockout. Now, if you're playing Knockout and the smoke is starting to come in, at high level, this is what happens all the time. You just pop your Mine Mania gadget, and they got nowhere to go. They're going to hit a ton of mines, and it's actually really, really solid. Now, if they have stuff like, you know, Mortis, Edgar, things that can get close to you, you're going to be wanting to use Last Hurrah. It's a very nice safety net kind of protection. And so those are kind of the scenarios that I would, you know, use which gadget. So again, Knockout, probably Mine Mania, but everywhere else, probably Last Hurrah. All right, so 8-Bit is going to be up next. Now, this one is going to be mode dependent in my opinion. So Cheat Cartridge, which is the teleport gadget, is going to be the better gadget in every mode except for Heist and Siege. Now, even Siege is not even in competitive anymore, but the extra credit one where you shoot like, I don't know how many lasers in a row, it's just so much damage inside the mode Heist and Siege. So in general, I see most people using it in those modes. So that's probably kind of what you guys should be doing as well. And yeah. All right, up next we have Ems. Now this one is very 50-50 in my opinion. It very much depends on the enemy team's comp and map as well. So you have Friend Zoner, which has been Ems' gadget for a very long time. It's a knockback gadget when like tanks get close to you. This gadget is so good. Don't get me wrong, it's one of the best gadgets in the game. It's so good for Ems, but if there's nothing to get really close to you, the Acid Spray gadget, which is the new one that allows you to shoot through a wall, can sometimes win your lane instantly. So it depends. Again, if they have a lot of tanks or things, brawlers that get really close to Ems, you're going to want to run Friend Zoner. If not, or it's a map that has a lot of walls that you need to shoot through, I would consider running Acid Spray. All right, up next is going to be Stu. Now again, Stu's gadgets are pretty balanced in my opinion. There's the speed one where it's a speed totem and it never dies, and it gives your team permanent speed, which is, you know, so useful in a lot of scenarios. And then there's the breakthrough gadget, which allows you to break the walls. You know, if there's throwers or something on the enemy team that's hiding behind a wall, you just break that and you just run them over. So in general, very 50-50. Again, it kind of depends on the team comp or the enemy team comp. So if you're playing ladder, you don't really know. Give or take, it depends. If you're playing with the team, I would run the totem one. Oftentimes you can gain a lot from just getting your team a speed. So up to you guys. Personally, I like the speed one better. All right, for Primo, we have Supplement. I can't even say it. An asteroid belt. So we have the throw gadget and we have the big asteroid. So in general, if you need a wall break, you're gonna run asteroid belt. But every other scenario, I would just run the throw. The throw is just too fun and it's too good in my opinion in Brawl Ball, especially. And that's where you're gonna be running Primo most of the time. So yeah. All right, up next we have Barley, and Barley's gadgets are pretty balanced. And again, it depends on what you're expecting from the enemy team. If the enemy team has a lot of tanks or aggros, and you need the Sticky Syrup gadget to slow them down to hit your shots, that's that. If you need to slow them down, if you have people getting close to you, run Sticky Syrup. If not, run the healing one, where you can heal your teammates, heal yourself. Just so much better, as long as they can't get close to you. So, you know, that's what you really have to ask. If they have close brawlers, slow them down. If not, run the heal for your team. Up next, we have Poco, and Poco's second gadget, Protective Tunes, is basically useless. I said it. It's really not that good. The only time that I think it could be viable is if they have Crow and Frank and another stun brawler. Like, I don't know. It really isn't that good. In general, it just gets rid of, you know, like slows and stuns, but oftentimes it's so hard to pull off. You know, again, Crow, they need to have a Crow on the enemy team. That's the only scenario I've ever seen people really use it. Otherwise, use Tuning Forks. I believe it's called Tuning Fork. Just use that one all the time. Just better. All right, up next we have Rosa, which is going to be, the first gadget is going to be Grow Light, which allows you to place a bush wherever you're standing, as well as you have unfriendly bushes, which slows enemies that are hiding in the grass. And in general, I think unfriendly bushes is by far the better gadget, excuse me. But if there is a team comp that you're playing that needs bushes, sometimes Grow Light is better. So again, it kind of depends on your strategy. But in general, if I had to decide, I would usually use unfriendly bushes. All right, Rico is up next, and this one is not even a question to me. Bouncy Castle is just by far the better gadget every scenario. I really wouldn't use the other one unless it's the only one you have. Bouncy Castle is just so good. It allows you to heal up to full HP if you use it right. So in general, just use Bouncy Castle. All right, so up next we have Daryl. Now, Daryl's first gadget is going to be Recoiling Rotator, and I'm going to call it the spinny gadget where you spin around, do a couple shots, and do a little bit of damage. In general, this gadget is probably mostly used in Heist because you can do like 6,000 damage to the Heist safe, but I've seen it used by some Daryl players to kind of charge their super early. I'm not sure, to be honest. Again, this is probably one of the brawlers I'm less sure about. Personally, I use Tar Barrel just because it allows me to close the gap on enemies, gets me kills a lot easier, and personally, I just think it's a little bit better. So Tar Barrel, if I had to choose, would be the better of the two. All right, up next for Penny, we have Pocket Detonator. Now, this gadget, I would only use if you need a wall break. Why would you want to blow up your turret that you spent all the game on to try to get? Like, you spent half the game trying to get your turret. Why would you blow it up? Don't ask me. So in general, only if you need a wall break, like if you really need a wall break, you can run this Pocket Detonator gadget. Otherwise, Captain Compass, you know, blow them up, do whatever you gotta do. But that's the better of the gadgets, in my opinion. So yeah. All right, for Carl, we have Heat Ejector that's got a bunch of buffs, but still, in my opinion, is not that good. Flying Hook is gonna be the better of the two, in my opinion, just because of how versatile it is. If you need to close the gap, Flying Hook. If you need to, you know, get the first Siege Bolt, Flying Hook. I don't know. It's just better of the two, in my opinion. If you need to get close to super them, Flying Hook and then super. It's just better, in my opinion. All right, next we're going to Piper. We are skipping over Jackie and all the brawlers that only have one gadget, so I hope you guys understand. Obviously, it's the best gadget. So Piper is up next, and this one is going to be dependent on, again, what kind of team comp you're playing against. If they have aggro brawlers like Mortis, Daryl, Fang, you can consider running the auto aimer gadget to knock them back and allow you to get the kill easier. If not, Homemade Recipe is just such a good gadget in securing those long range kills. You know, a free Piper shot is a lot of damage. So in general, Homemade Recipe is going to be the better of the two for me. All right, up next we have Pam. Now, Pam's gadget, Scrap Sucker, is going to be the better of the two for me just because taking the other person's ammo is just so good. And it's so annoying to deal with. For example, you know, you're standing in a heist zone or a hot zone and the enemy comes up to you. You pop the gadget, you take their ammo, and what are they gonna do? They can't shoot you. I mean, you get a free shots on them. You also take their ammo. So if you're low, you just took, you know, a couple ammo from them. You have a couple more shots. You get closer to your turret. In general, it's just a better gadget in my opinion. You can turn so many scenarios around. All right, next up we have Frank, the big beast himself. Frank's gadgets are both actually really, really good. Now, again, I'm gonna say this a lot. It depends on the enemy team. If they are running, you know, cancel brawlers such as Gale, you know, maybe even M's where they have a gadget to knock you away, you're going to be wanting to run active noise cancellation. That is what it's called. Active noise cancellation to allow you to stop getting knocked back. So that way you can make sure you get your super off. Your super is so important and you need to get it off. So if they have knockbacks, you're going to want to run that gadget. If not, you're going to be wanting to run Irresistible Attraction. That gadget just does so much damage. I mean, you literally one-shot the enemy half the time. So if you don't need the active noise cancellation, why not run the gadget that just literally one-shots the enemy? That's my opinion. All right, next up we have Bibi. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't actually know how good the new gadget is, Extra Sticky. In my opinion, it's probably all right, but I've always played Bibi with the heal gadget, and so I'm going to suggest using the heal gadget as well. That's kind of just how Bibi is played. You're going to want to heal up. Usually you're just annoying to deal with and you're not even going to shoot half the time. Like most times I play Bibi or I play against a good Bibi, they just don't shoot. They just walk up to me and then I can't kill them and they're really annoying to deal with. So that's in general probably the better gadget. All right, so Bea is going to be up next. Now Bea's two gadgets are going to be Rattled Hive and Honeypot. Now Rattled Hive used to be absolutely busted, then they nerfed it. Now it is no more, like, not even used. Like I rarely ever see it used. Honeypot is just a very good gadget overall. You can use it to tank, you can use it to slow down the enemy. In general, Honeypot all the way. Don't use Rattled Hive. All right, so next up is going to be Nani. Now Nani's two gadgets are going to be the TP gadget where you just teleport to wherever your peep is, or the Return to Sender. Now again, probably only scenario that I'd use the TP gadget would be in scenarios like Heist where you want to just get behind the enemy team or you want to teleport on one of the enemies, kill them, and then do damage to the Heist safe. So in general, that's probably the only mode that I'd really use TP. Return to Sender is just so good. So the only other scenario that I would run the TP gadget is if the other team is running a bunch of like spray or like single target damage, such as like, you know, if they're running Colt, Amber, and Jean, where like they proc the Return to Sender gadget like for nothing, that's the only other time I would use TP. Other than that, Return to Sender is just so good. All right, next up we have Edgar. Now Edgar is going to be dependent on the mode. If you have time, if you know you're going to have time inside the game to charge your super for free and you don't have to fight anybody, you're going to want to use the hardcore, I believe is the one where you get a 2k shield. So in general, if you can get your super for free by waiting, run hardcore. If not, I would use Let's Fly because you're going to need your super to kill people. And if you're going to be playing an action-packed game mode, you need your super as much as possible. So Let's Fly is probably going to be better. All right, next up is Grom. Now, Grom's got a pretty relatively new gadget, which is going to be Radio Check, I believe. Yeah, Radio Check, which is 3 shots in a row that do quite a bit of damage. Honestly, it's pretty good, actually. So the other one is Watchtower, which allows you to see enemies in bushes. It also dies now, unfortunately. But, I mean, it's good because it was too OP. So, basically, the only time I would use Watchtower is if, let's say you needed to tank, you know, a long-range shot from a Piper, you're playing a long-range map, or if you're playing on a very grassy map such as Sneaky Fields. I think that is the other scenario I'd use Watchtower. Other than that, Radio Check is probably the better of the 2 gadgets, in my opinion, for most scenarios. So yeah. All right, guys, that is going to be it for part 1 of the best gadgets for every single brawler. Now, let me know in the comments down below if you guys want to see part 2 or if I'm just wasting my time. Again, I need to know whether to make part 2 or not. So again, if you do want to see another one, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. And hope to see you in the next video. Peace.